What if the bar mirror showed you the one thing you weren't supposed to see?
Wow. Yeah, that line just grabs you, doesn't
It
it?
really does. And that's exactly where we're jumping in today for this deep dive into this moment of just shocking accidental discovery.
Totally accidental. And
Ah.
it just rips the lid off a whole life, really. A life that turns out was built on lies.
We're looking at a really raw personal account today. It's called The Mirror's Betrayal, a fiance's secret life.
Right. And this isn't some academic study. This is straight from the source, the lived experience of a guy named Chris Harlan.
Yeah, Chris. And get this, he's just 8 weeks out from his wedding day. 8 weeks.
And his whole world just completely implodes.
So let's set the scene a bit. Chris has just landed this massive deal in New York City. Huge win.
Yeah, 6 months of grinding, he says, finally paid off. He's buzzing, but also completely knackered, you know?
Totally. Shoulders heavy, totally exhausted. He could have stayed in NYC celebrating,
At party time.
but nope. He decides to head home to Connecticut.
His plan's pretty simple, right? Just wants to get home, crash, maybe surprise his fiancée, Rachel, when she gets back on Sunday.
Because Rachel is supposedly away on a pre-wedding spa trip.
With her sisters, Karen and Julie, down in Rhode Island at some, like, fancy spa casino place.
You know the type. Bridal party bonding, manicures, maybe some cocktails by the pool.
Exactly. The whole pre-tan glow routine sounds completely legit.
Except the drive back towards Hartford is just killing him. Exhaustion really sets in.
It's about 7:30 p.m. He's running on empty.
So he pulls up the highway, West Hartford Center. Just needs a quiet dinner, something simple.
And he finds this place, Toby's. It's a bar and grill he knows. Familiar spot.
Sits down at the bar, orders a burger, a beer. Mind's kind of numb from the week, just wants to zone out.
And this is it. This is the moment from that opening line. He just glances up, almost casually, at the mirror behind the bar.
You know, the kind that reflects the whole room.
Yeah. And across the dining area, sliding into a booth, he sees them. Two women who should absolutely not be there.
Rachel's sisters, Karen and Julie.
Right there, laughing, looking totally relaxed, ordering drinks with their husbands.
They look settled, comfortable, definitely not, 2 states away getting massages in Rhode Island.
He says his blood just ran cold instantly.
That immediate gut punch, knowing deep down something is just terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah. The mind just starts racing, doesn't it? If they're here,
Yeah.
where's Rachel? What happened to the spa trip?
He manages to get outside and need some air. The noise from the bar just fades away, but the questions in his head are screaming.
So he does the obvious thing. He calls Rachel.
She picks up right away. Sounds cheerful, he says. Light, happy.
Too happy, though. That's what he notes. Something felt off.
Yeah, too happy. And she launches right into the story, the script. Lounging by the pool, great tan, heading to dinner soon.
Sticking to the lie. But then technology comes into play.
Right. Find my phone. They had shared locations, for safety. Just a feature.
Something you probably never even thought about using before.
Never had a reason to. Until now. He opens the app, types in her number. Waits.
And the map loads. The little dot pops up.
Not Rhode Island.
Not even close.
It's pinging from Falmouth, Massachusetts. Cape Cod.
Falmouth. And that name rings a bell for him. Nick Flaherty.
Rachel's childhood neighbor. Has a family beach house there.
And Chris remembers Rachel talking about Nick, even mentioning an invite once, calling him like a brother.
But he says something about it never quite sat right with him. That little nagging feeling.
And now, that feeling is back. He says it returned, this time with teeth.
It's not just a vague suspicion anymore. It's crystallizing into something terrifyingly real.
So what does he do? He scrolls through his contacts, finds Sue Flaherty,
Nick's wife.
calls her. No preamble, no wedding chat. Straight to the point.
He asks her, is Nick out of town?
And Sue pauses. Just long enough to be noticeable.
Yeah, actually, yeah. He's away. Why?
That hesitation says it all, doesn't it?
Totally. So Chris asks her if she has Find My Phone. Her voice drops immediately. Chris, why are you asking me that?
He tells her. Tells her Rachel's phone is showing up in Falmouth.
And then Sue whispers it. The confirmation. And it's devastating. Not again.
Wow. Not again. Think about what that implies.
It tells Chris and us this isn't Nick's first time doing this. And maybe not Rachel's either.
There's a history here. A pattern of betrayal Sue already knows about.
A minute later, Sue confirms Nick's phone is also pinging from the family cottage. Same spot as Rachel.
Her voice is trembling. She tells him, I'm sorry, Chris, this isn't the first time. I'm going to call him and tell him not to come home.
But Chris stops her. Right there, in that moment of pure shock, his mind just shifts.
Kind of action mode. Control.
He tells Sue, don't call them yet, anytime.
Time to think, yeah, but also...
Time to get everything out of my house before she walked back in like nothing happened.
That takes an incredible amount of focus when your world is shattering around you.
Instead of just exploding, he's thinking logistics, methodical dismantling.
He doesn't sleep that night. Sits at the kitchen table. Not on a laptop, he makes a point of that.
No, a real pen and paper list, itemizing everything of hers that needs to go.
It's the start of physically erasing her from his space.
Wow. By morning, he says, the decision was solid. Cut ties. Completely. Which brings us to the next phase.
The preparation. And the confrontation.
Saturday morning, he's moving fast. First call, neighbor Billy Jones, someone he trusts.
It's early, Billy's still waking up, but Chris is urgent. Change the locks. Every door. Reset the garage code. Now.
Billy gets it immediately, asks the direct question, is the wedding off?
And Chris confirms.
Yeah.
Just as direct.
Yeah.
The wedding's off. And everything else with it.
No details needed. Billy just says, okay, he'll handle it.
While Billy's doing the locks, Chris starts packing.
Giant garbage bags, filling them with all her stuff.
He mentions being careful, though. Not damaging anything. Says it wasn't about revenge. It was about closure.
That's a powerful image, isn't it? Years of a life together, just bagged up.
Think about that. Taking things that symbolized intimacy, a future, reducing them to anonymous bags.
He rents a small storage unit. Takes 3 trips, he says. 12 bags.
Years of our life zipped away behind a metal door. Just stark. It's the physical act of walling her off.
By mid-afternoon, he's exhausted, physically, emotionally drained. But there's one more thing.
He has to go back. Back to Toby's bar.
Not for food this time, as he puts it, to deliver a message.
He walks in, and sure enough, there they are. Karen, Julie, their husbands, Roy and Steve. Still there, same booth.
Laughing, eating appetizers, completely oblivious.
Chris just slides onto a bar stool nearby, close enough they'll see him.
And they do. The table goes quiet. Steve tries a sort of weak, hey, Chris!
But Chris cuts him off. Eyes on the sisters. Not staying long.
Karen's smile just drops. Julie looks terrified. They know.
Roy, Julie's husband, senses it. What's going on?
Chris ignores him for a second, looks right at Julie. Where's Rachel, Julie?
Silence. She just stares, can't answer.
Karen jumps in. The classic denial. Chris, it's not what you think.
He just holds up a hand.
Yeah.
Stops her cold. It's exactly what I think.
Now the husbands are looking at their wives. Confusion shifting to alarm. Fast.
Chris keeps his voice low, but intense. He tells the husbands what he knows, recounts the planning session.
Your wives were in my kitchen last Tuesday, he says. They planned the spa weekend. Rachel was supposed to be in Rhode Island.
Then leans in a bit. She's not there.
Karen just starts sobbing, tears streaming. Julie's hands are shaking on the table.
Steve's jaws clenched. Where is she? He demands.
Chris lays it out. Cold, hard truth. Cape Cod, at Nick Flaherty's house, you know, her old neighbor.
You can imagine the husband's reactions. Roy's face flushes red.
Chris confirms he talked to Sue Flaherty, that she checked the locations, too. They're both there, at Nick's cottage.
Karen's weeping openly now. Julie looks broken. She manages to whisper an excuse.
Rachel loves you. She made a mistake.
But Steve isn't having it. Cuts her off. Voice like ice. Sharp. Furious. A mistake, he spits out. Lying, dragging her sisters in, spending the weekend with another guy. That's not a mistake. That's planning.
Then he turns on Karen. And you helped her.
Roy piles on, looking at Julie. You said you were going to Rhode Island.
Karen tries to explain, through the tears. Kind of a weak defense. I did it for her. She was scared. Confused. I didn't think she'd actually...
But Chris finishes it for her. Cuts right through.
Yeah.
But she did. Simple, brutal, true.
And here's where he really takes control, the timing. He has a specific request for the husbands.
He needs them to make sure Karen and Julie do not contact Rachel. At all.
No warning, no heads up, nothing until 6:15 p.m. Sunday, just after she was supposed to get back.
She gets nothing from you. Can you do that?
And the husbands instantly agree. This isn't just about Chris anymore.
No, the betrayal has hit their marriages now, too. Steve turns to Karen, delivers an ultimatum.
Chilling. If you call her, I'm done. I don't know what else you've lied about, but I'm not waiting to find out.
Roy says the same to Julie. Same. You contact Rachel. You better call a lawyer, too.
The sisters cry harder, but their husbands offer zero comfort this time. Their complicity just blew up in their faces.
Chris shakes the husband's hands. A strange moment of solidarity, maybe?
Yeah, shared victims of the same deception. Then he leaves.
That night, back home, he writes the email. to every single wedding guest.
The subject line alone tells the story. Harrington Clark wedding update.
The email itself, direct, factual,
Meh.
no emotion shown, just the facts.
8 weeks out, discovered Rachel spent the weekend not with her sisters at a spa, but with another man, Nick Flaherty, at his place on the Cape.
With the help of her sisters and a fabricated story, he lays it all out.
And the ending, just devastatingly final. It's much easier to cancel a ceremony than to file for divorce.
And like everything else, he schedules it, 6 p.m. Sunday, right when she's due back, before she can spin anything.
Which brings us to the final act, the execution, the aftermath.
Sunday evening comes. Chris describes the atmosphere as heavy, still, like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Everything's ready, her stuff is gone, locks changed, email queued up.
Just one thing left, the final nail, the official goodbye.
He types out one last text message to Rachel, the last one he'll ever send.
I hope you enjoyed your weekend with Nick. Thank you for showing me who you really are. The wedding is canceled.
He waits, watches the clock tick to 6 p.m.
Exactly, 6-0. Hits send on the text.
and immediately hits send all on the email to the guests.
His description is simple. It was over. Done. The truth deployed like a weapon, shattering the lie.
The next few days, a blur, he says, understandably.
Stays off social media,
Oh, yeah.
ignores calls, emails, just shuts down communication with almost everyone.
He does mention Sue Flaherty, though, the other victim in this.
Yeah, she apparently took action just as decisively, saw a divorce lawyer right away, canceled joint accounts, moved out.
He describes her as shattered, but focused. Different response, maybe, but just as determined to cut ties.
In Chris's own state, he calls it a mix. Relief, maybe. Anger, definitely, but mostly numb.
There's a reflection he shares that really resonates. Once you step outside the lie,
Even one you might have kind of ignored red flags about.
you suddenly see just how fragile it was the whole time. The whole thing just collapses once the truth hits it.
Time passes. Slowly at first, you imagine. But it does pass. 16 months.
Enough time for the shock to wear off, maybe. Time for processing, healing, starting over.
And the story takes a turn towards rebuilding. We find Chris standing at the front of a church.
It's a spring afternoon, and his new fiancée, Emily, is walking towards him.
He makes a point of the contrast, explicitly. No secrets, no lies, just honesty and love.
He describes watching Emily come down the aisle, radiant. Eyes locked on his, the whole room just melts away.
There was nothing but her and me and a future I never expected but desperately needed. It feels earned, you know?
Absolutely. A future built on transparency this time.
The guests are smiling, happy, almost all of them. As Emily gets closer, Chris glances back, towards the back pews.
And he sees her,
Rachel,
sitting there, alone.
tears just silently streaming down her face, mouth trembling.
She mouths something, across the distance, silently. I'm sorry.
Mouths it again. Then she gets up.
And leaves. Before the vows.
Chris doesn't react outwardly. This final thought in the story is internal. This new life.
It wasn't hers anymore. It was mine and Emily's, and it was built on truth. And seeing, what a journey. Just incredibly powerful, raw, the betrayal, the calculated response, and then finding a path back.
Let's unpack the people involved a little.
Mhm.
Chris, obviously, his path is just remarkable. From that peak of success to absolute devastation.
But his response wasn't just rage, was it? It was methodical, almost surgical, changing locks, the timing of the messages.
Yeah, he says it wasn't about petty revenge, but reclaiming control, drawing a hard line.
And his ability to process that, heal, and find a new relationship based on honesty, that shows some serious inner strength forged in that fire. Then you have Rachel, the architect of the whole deception.
And it wasn't just a mistake, as Steve's pointed out so sharply.
Yeah.
It was planned, calculated. And she pulled others into it.
Her sister mentioned fear or confusion as a possible motive. But the actions speak louder, don't they?
They really do. And her showing up at the second wedding, alone, crying, mouthing. Sorry, it's a poignant image.
It doesn't excuse anything, of course, but it shows the weight of her choices. Watching the life she threw away being rebuilt by someone else on a foundation she destroyed.
And the sisters, Karen and Julie, they're such a clear example of the cost of going along with a lie.
That moral tightrope they were on, loyalty to their sister versus honesty to Chris.
And their choice wrecked their own relationships. Their husbands' reactions were brutal. Shows how enabling deceit just poisons everything around it.
Their excuse, didn't think she'd actually do it, feels so flimsy, doesn't it? They were part of the planning. They facilitated the lie.
Definitely. They got caught in something that ultimately blew back on them hard.
And briefly, Sue Flaherty. the parallel victim.
Her "not again" tells you so much. And her immediate decisive action lawyer accounts. Moving out, it's a different kind of response. Shattered, yes, but focused on practical steps. Survival.
It really underscores how people cope differently, even with similar betrayals.
This whole account is just a visceral look at the impact of lies, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the incredible strength needed to face the truth and rebuild.
It definitely leaves you thinking. So, for you listening, put yourself there for a second. In Togi's bar, you glance in the mirror, see the sisters. What's your first reaction? What would you have done right then? Anger, confusion, that kind of cold focus Chris found.
Yeah, and think about the sisters, Karen and Julie. What responsibility do they really have? They helped create the lie. How much blame do they carry? And does seeing the impact on their own lives change how you feel about their choices?
And stepping back, how does hearing a story like this, so detailed, so personal, maybe deepen or even change how you think about trust, about honesty, about the foundations you need in your own relationships?
Really makes you think. And hey, if this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube.